Today's Editor's Note podcast is brought to you by Deadpool's Demolition Company. When you need to break down all four walls, Deadpool's Demolition is who you call.
Welcome to the Editor's Note Comics Podcast, the only podcast coming from Central Maine's best comic book store by default. My name is Zach, and with me is...
Jared.
That is you.
I'm trying to add a little pizzazz to...
Pizzazz?
Pizzazz.
There you go. Hit those hard P's.
Pop.
Please don't. It'll be bad for audio.
Well, no, you've got the windscreen. You have the P protector.
Yeah, we're professionals here.
That's a lot of alliteration to start off our show this week.
Personal pop protectors.
Yes, those are important. Whatever they do, you should have them.
All right, as we do each and every week, we're going to start off with the news.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
It's time for the news.
Wouldn't it put you out of like Walter Cronkite, like just busted in? I know he's dead.
I didn't think he was alive.
No, he's very much dead. A legitimate newsman. If we could like hire a legitimate news person, like Bill Curtis from Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, to read our news.
We're legitimate now.
Yes, I mean, but like...
Look at our sweet recording studio.
Well, they're two halves of cardboard boxes with...
They're three-quarter.
Well, it's like...
Easy does it.
4 out of 6 walls of a square.
You have your own little recording booth.
I do, I guess.
You're a pro now.
If you want to call it that.
I want to see if I can get us into press screenings for movies. I guess it's not that hard. You just call like, hey, I'm going to review this.
Does that mean we don't have to go to movies at 10:25 at night anymore?
No, but we got to plan that. That's an off-the-air conversation, though.
Oh, what, for Apocalypse?
Yeah.
Oh, I may have alternative plans, but I'll be watching it this weekend, I think. I don't know yet. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'll have it seen by next Tuesday.
All right.
We digress.
Spoilers for next week, but
yes.
We were definitely talking about that. It's not really a spoiler. First bit of news. This week there was, for the first time, a Star Trek teaser for a show on CBS.
Ugh.
Don't this.
I love Star Trek, but I don't know. I really, really, really don't know.
I mean, the teaser...
Don't ruin a good thing. The original series, we were talking about this earlier, maybe a dozen really good episodes.
Nah.
But like when you got Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, those are great. Voyager,
It's fine.
But like, especially when they've rebooted it, I don't want more Kirk. I don't want more Spock.
They didn't say more. They said that there was going to be new crew.
New crew. So there's going to be on the Enterprise. There's going to be like the Enterprise B or C.
Well, it doesn't have to take place in the new continuity. This is just a split timeline. That could be in the other one.
I know, but still, I just don't. I mean, I'll give it its due course, but damn it, why?
But what if it's one in the old timeline and you get to have like old characters return?
Like who?
Anyone still alive.
Okay, so depending on when it takes place, would you rather have like a Kirk showing or a Picard showing?
Well, Picard, because Kirk is dead.
Well, I know Kirk is dead, but this could be a new timeline.
No, it's the old timeline.
All right, so you're
It could not be.
I'd like to be some Will Riker, though.
Yeah, I think it...
We want Worf. That's what we want.
He has to be...
Hashtag we want Worf. We should hashtag that, because Michael Dorn, on all of his tweets, is hashtag we want Worf. Maybe we could get Michael Dorn.
That's because he tried to get a show off the ground that didn't happen.
Yeah, but still, I love Worf.
This is what's weird about the show is it's going to be on CBS All Access, which is their equivalent of HBO Go or Netflix.
The last time CBS had Star Trek, it tanked after 3 seasons.
No, that was on UPN.
The original series was on CBS.
Yeah. I thought you meant the last... That was 4 seasons, wasn't it, for Enterprise? I don't know, I didn't watch Enterprise.
Oh, yeah, Enterprise. No.
There we go. That's why it failed.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Who watches UPN?
No one, because they're off the air. They're dead.
Yeah, exactly. My point exactly.
I mean, the teaser isn't much. It's just the camera flying through space. But when they get to the end, and you get those...
You get the 4 chords.
Yeah, when you hit... I got a smile out of that. Yes.
I got a little bit of nostalgia, but then they blended the 2 worlds, the 4 chords, and then the big trumpet fanfare, which didn't happen until the motion picture.
I'm all for it.
I'm not saying I'm against it, but I'm just like...
I'm kind of against CBS All Access. I'll be all for it.
I'm trepidatious.
If I can find it legally without paying them a lot of money.
I'm finding myself very cautiously guarded about it.
Hey, Star Trek is kind of back?
I don't know. I was more upbeat about the new trailer for the next Star Trek movie.
Why not? We want to keep it on Star Trek. Just start this episode all Trek and then never speak of it again.
Hold it going where no one has gone before.
That was a really awkward Vulcan thing. You're doing something weird with your thumb.
Oh, I was trying to I was tucking it in.
Is that it? Because you had the thumb tuck?
Maybe.
It's like
yes,
a finger
there we go. Yes.
So the new Star Trek trailer, I like it. I'm going to be real positive this episode. This is a positive episode.
It redeemed the first trailer. I thought the first trailer was hokey, over the top. You had the Beastie Boys. I didn't like the first trailer at all. This second trailer had some grit to it. Makes me curious what's going on. We obviously know, if you haven't seen the trailer yet, spoilers, the Enterprise gets screwed up.
For the third time. This is the third time they've blown up the Enterprise.
Should not let...
Maybe not... Don't bring the Enterprise out.
Yeah, just keep it in the garage.
It's like how ships aren't named the Titanic. Yeah, keep it like that, because that ship keeps going down.
They should not let Chris Pine pull that sucker out of the garage anymore, because every time he does not bring... If he was my son and he was taking the car out, he would not bring it back. It would have a scratch on it. I would not allow him to take my car out.
No, his dad was Chris Hemsworth.
Yes, I knew that.
You, sir, are no Chris Hemsworth.
I am not a Chris Hemsworth.
Because you're not Australian.
No, I'm not Australian.
And that's the only reason.
And I'm not Thor. Any other comparisons? I'm not 6'4" and jacked. No, but I like the thought of what we're going to get here. We're going to get Kirk in another unwinnable situation. Looks like we have a new race. Although they did kind of look similar. Like, it reminded me of something, but I don't think it's going to be... Remember in Into Darkness that, like, the people of the planet that they were stopping the volcano on, they had the face paint?
Yeah.
They kind of reminded me of that, but I know it's a different world. But I think it's going to be something fresh that we haven't seen before.
It's not a race that I recognize, but I also really didn't look into it that much. You know, I really... that shot that you see of the ship going at warp speed...
Yes.
But you see it from an angle we've never seen.
That was cool.
I thought that was the money shot of the trailer. I'm like, we've never seen that. It looked really badass.
I think it's going to give us an interesting look into James Kirk as well and his development. The opening scene of the trailer is him talking with Bones about, his dad got into Star Trek to make a difference, and he got into Star Trek because it was a dare. And Bones says, no, you got in to see if you could live up to your father.
Maybe he'll start complaining about his age and then have to take out his reading glasses because Bone gives him a book. Let's just copy all the old movies.
Yeah.
Let's not.
Maybe they're going to be in Yellowstone. He'll fall off El Capitan.
Maybe they can sing Row, Row, Row Your Boat again.
Oh.
That truly classic moment.
The singing of the campfire song. That was... That
was 5.
Yes, that was 5. That wasn't Voyage Home. That was... And it wasn't Undiscovered Country. Which one was that?
I don't remember. I've only watched 5 once. Once was enough.
Oh, that was the one where they find... Isn't that the one where they find Spock's brother and they...
It's the one where they find God.
Where they find God. What is God name of the starship?
Yeah, that's the one.
It's Undiscovered Country was the one where...
Look, this isn't... I'm going to cut this out ultimately. We don't need to figure out what it was.
No, I need to for my own self-edification. You should leave this in.
Voyage Home, Undiscovered Country.
Voyage Home, Undiscovered Country. Final Frontier?
Yeah, that was it.
There it is.
I don't know. This one... has more of a Trek feel to it, less of that kind of action movie vibe, which I'm all for.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see where they go, especially...
I want spectacle, but at the same time, turn it down a notch.
I want Trek is what I want. I want, a commentary on humanity, because that's what it was, and where we're going. That was Gene Roddenberry's vision then. The thing about, Star Trek for me, too, is, and especially with, the next generation, because I felt like that's where Gene finally was able to, I say I'm on a first name basis with him, but I feel like that's where Roddenberry was finally able to kind of see his vision, and...
he was able to die of old age and go away so the show got good?
No, but I feel like some of the things he was saying...
Yeah, I said it.
Yeah, well... So bring your unmitigated hate towards Zach at the shop this week, Water Street and Hollowell. Not me this week. I did nothing wrong this week, although I guess one of the Ed heads vindicated me, which was nice.
They said you were right about self-promotion. I do give discounts to people with pull lists, so
Oh, there you go.
Be nice to me.
So get your pull list at the Editor's Note comic shop. But back to the topic at hand. Gene Roddenberry had this vision of the future, and I remember one of the things I remember very much is Patrick Stewart talking about how the fact that he was bald, and what about that? And Gene Roddenberry in the future, nobody's gonna give a shit if you're bald or not. He's wouldn't they have found a cure for baldness? And Gene Roddenberry's in the future, nobody's going to care.
I see an ant. I'm going to go kill it.
Oh, okay. So, meanwhile, during the podcast...
When did I get ants?
I don't know.
He's dead now.
Well, This is real riveting stuff right here. All right, well, welcome back from your killing spree.
The infection is over.
I think you mean like the infestation, not infection.
I guess. Either way, my house is infected with ants.
Infected is not the right...
It is now. I'm sticking to it.
My house is infected. Oh,
I stand by what I said.
all right.
Either way, Star Trek, hopefully it'll be good. Maybe it'll be bad. Either way, I'm going to watch it.
I don't know. What'd you think of Into Darkness?
Parts of it were fine. A little too referential. It was
Yeah,
that a guy edited down where plot lines got cut. Like, boy, Kirk is really sick. Let's never bring it up again. If you're going to kill him, don't bring him back 5 minutes later either.
Yeah, I get it. I liked how they flip-flopped, though, the original Khan storyline, where Kirk is the one who dies of radiation poisoning instead of Spock.
It's not bad. It's just not good. Continuing with the news, and this is something I am going to spoil the hell out of. This week, the Dark Tower movie is filming, starring Idris Elba as the gunslinger. You got Matthew McConaughey as the Man in Black.
Otherwise known as Randall Flagg to those Stephen King enthusiasts.
I'm actually really surprised you knew that.
Yeah, come at me, bro.
Did you read The Dark Tower?
Oh,
No.
God, no. I know things.
Okay, there you go.
There's a Stephen King class at the high school that my buddy teaches, so I know though he's a huge Stephen King. And I worked for Stephen King for 3 years.
Oh, was that his? Oh, you were.
Yeah, I worked at his radio station. Yeah.
I didn't know it was anywhere.
I worked there for 3 years, never met him, and people told stories all the time about how they'd be there in the middle of the night and he would just show up at the station.
Oh, that's fun.
But he gave, I mean, I don't want to go too in depth, but every year at Christmas, the man, like Stephen and Tabitha, is like, they treat the people that
come
come
on a first name basis with everyone?
Well, no, I mean, yeah, sure, because I'm a big deal. But no, every year, Christmas bonus, you got healthy Christmas bonuses at the radio station. And I was a struggling, starving college student at the time. So to get like a large Christmas bonus, but even more impressive was like large dollar figure, like gift card to restaurants. Like,
good.
The Muddy Rudder, for instance, like real fancy restaurant was like $75 or $100 gift card to every employee at the station, like with a card from Stephen and Tabitha. Cool dude.
Good on him. But so Stephen King threw up this picture on Twitter this week that showed a horn, and it just said "one last time." And again, I'm spoiling the end of this 8-book series. I'm going to do it. So if you
don't be that guy.
Well, I'm going to. It's important for this story.
Is it?
I'm spoiling it for you. You can't skip ahead.
No, I can't. I'm here.
But so spoilers starting now. So casting for this movie has looked a little bit weird. I've been seeing all the casting announcements, like who are these characters? People are getting cast from, like whatever. It's not that big of a deal. The books are still there. They're probably doing something different for the movie. Whatever, I don't care. What I think this movie is I think this movie is a sequel to the books. I think it's all in the same canon.
How is that really a spoiler? It's a theory more than a spoiler.
Well, because now I'm going to spoil the end of the book and why it makes sense.
Okay.
So the end of the book, there's this whole series. It took about 30 years to write, and it's all about this character Roland who's getting closer and closer to the Dark Tower, and you don't know what's at the tower, why he's going there, any of that stuff. And then you get to a point in the last book where Stephen King stops the entire story. He just goes, "Look, stop reading now. Whatever you think is there is probably better than what I got. So it's in your best interest if you just cut it out. Stop reading now." Really just
bold strategy.
Yeah, it really just rails it. But you're like, I've read all these books. I'm not stopping now. So you
what do you like? Do you think it was out of like people are going to be disappointed when they find out what's actually in the Dark Tower?
Well, just because when he started the story, he didn't know the answer. So it was just a case of, this is the ending that I have. I'm sure whatever you have in your head is better than what it's going to be.
Were you disappointed?
You probably should have stopped.
Oh,
but it's not that it was bad.
How long is this something I should add to my reading list?
I love that book series. It's amazing.
The Green Mile books were smaller, though, and shorter, right, than the Dark Tower books?
Well, yeah, the Dark Tower was meant to be like a sprawling epic. There were 8 books in total.
Oh, as opposed to like the serial novel that the Green Mile is.
Yeah. But, so Roland gets to the Dark Tower, and what happens, and I haven't read it in a couple of years, so I'm not going to be able to say, it's almost like this curse. So he goes to the Dark Tower, and it resets his entire story. but it shows that things are a little bit different than when he started out. So it's like he's been on this quest over and over and over and over again, and it's been this endless cycle, but things are always slightly different. Like the horn that Stephen King tweeted a picture of was something that he had with him on this journey, and there was this whole point in the stories before that horn, I don't remember, it was broken or it disappeared. So it almost looks like this movie is going to be a sequel, and this is his last time approaching the Dark Tower.
It's kind of like the episode of The Next Generation where they're cutting that temporal causality loop, and every time they
bringing it back to Star Trek, but yes, it's very similar to that.
Damn straight.
Except they don't play poker in the Dark Tower.
No, they don't. Wow.
They do fight Doctor Doom robots with lightsabers and snitches from Harry Potter's bombs.
Okay.
And go to Oz.
Follow the Yellow Brick Road, baby.
And Maine.
Yes.
They go many places in those books.
Well, again, most of his stuff takes place or has something to do, like, is there a connection with Maine?
Well, no, they go meet him.
Wow.
These are weird books.
Well, I mean, have you ever known him to write anything normal? Faithful, his book Faithful with Stuart and Ann about the 2004 Red Sox, that's a good read.
Yeah, there's plenty of normal stuff that he writes.
Yeah, because it's nonfiction.
I
remember he got railroaded for a time because he would go to Red Sox games and he'd be writing books at Red Sox games, like writing, head down, like in an area where foul balls could like come and like light you up. I also love the this is a SportsCenter commercial where he was writing copy for them, and it's like one of the sports anchors is like, no, he was not possessed by the demon, or the mist was not responsible for this.
But that's my theory. The Dark Tower movies, I think, are going to be sequels to the books. Now that I have spoiled the end of the books.
Okay.
The ending is it starts all over. Spoilers over. I'll put a time.
Do you think it could be like one of those movies that like totally mind F's you?
I was really on board for the idea of the movie, but when I started seeing all the casting, I didn't care because I'm like, oh, this is going to be something totally different. Like I said, there's so many weird licensing rights that would go into putting this to film. I didn't know how it could ever possibly be done, so I never thought it would be a faithful adaptation.
Could we do a podcast at some point? I just thought of this idea. Write it down, jot it down as you're listening to this. Movies, books, comics that totally mind F you.
By things that deviate? Or just things that you're like, what just happened?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure we could do
like
that.
the movie, ever seen the movie Fallen with Denzel Washington?
No.
Oh, you need to watch it. Or The Cell?
No.
That's The Cell
Sorry,
with Jennifer Lopez.
I was thinking like SELL.
No.
There, yeah, I'm back on board.
The Cell, CELL.
Yeah.
With Jennifer Lopez and Vince Vaughn.
More news, and I want to try and wrap the news up fast because we got a lot to talk about. Spider-Man: Homecoming, Keaton is back in talks.
Yes.
It's been a roller coaster for this. Keaton's in, Keaton's out, Keaton's back in.
Who do you think he's gonna be if he's in?
It sounds like he's gonna be the Vulture. The Vulture's an old man with a Vulture costume. But what the rumor is that the Vulture costume is going to be made out of old Chitauri bits that the Tinkerer, he's a villain, very minor villain, gathered up, and he kind of tinkered together a Vulture costume for him.
The Tinkerer. Wow. I'm shaking in my boots at the Tinkerer.
I know, right?
Oh no, he's going to tinkle.
No, he tinkers.
Oh, tinkers. Even more frightening.
He'll like muss up your hair and run away.
Oh my God, he's gonna buff out my fender. That damn Tinkerer. He's back at it again.
That's all I got. Bring on Keaton.
I don't think I thought I had some news. I was like excited and no news. I don't have any news.
Last bit of news, a lot of casting came out for Thor this week. Boy, did a lot of casting coming out. Kate Blanchett's in the movie.
Ooh.
She's going to play the villain, who's an unknown character called Hela. Jeff Goldblum's in it.
Now we're talking.
As Grandmaster. Tessa Thompson, who I've only ever seen in Creed, but she was really good in Creed. She's going to play Valkyrie, who's a pretty badass character.
One of my favorite discs to throw in disc golf is called the Valkyrie.
And last, Carl Urban is going to be Scourge.
Oh, God, I love Carl Urban.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a Thor movie.
I've liked Carl Urban since he kind of, kicked the door down on the scene when he was in the Lord of the Rings movies. Speaking of Jeff Goldblum, new, I know you don't like it, but I like it. New Independence Day trailer came out this week.
I didn't watch it. It was 5 minutes long.
It wasn't 5 minutes. It was 4 minutes and like 30-some seconds, but it was really good.
I didn't watch it.
It kind of expanded on the original trailer. It kind of gave us more. I think it just kind of gave the whole movie away a little bit, but I still think it's got me excited. I was talking to my buddy Brandon today, and it's like, and he doesn't like action movies. Like, I give him crap all the time for not liking action movies, but this looks like it has some potential. It kind of has that grand scale of the original Michael Bay destruction of the world movies.
If the aliens win, I'll watch it.
The aliens aren't going to win, man.
I don't care.
I want to know how Brent Spiner's doctor character is still alive. That's what answers. And he looks better than Bill Pullman's character, who's the president.
Anyway, I thought he died, but I also haven't watched Independence Day probably since the 90s.
The movie makes you think he died.
Last bit of news before we switch on over. A new Ghostbusters trailer came out this week.
I've not seen it yet.
Really?
Yeah, but don't worry, it's not.
Well, this isn't all the things I was going to talk about. Doesn't really matter for it.
I'll watch it for next week.
Do you care? This movie gets a ton of hate. More hate than any movie ever. The first trailer was the most disliked trailer in all of YouTube history. All 7-year history.
The thing that I want to,
or 10 years, whatever it is.
I just, don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't like the idea of a female ghost-busting team or anything. It just feels forced. It doesn't feel fresh. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm very wrong. I hope that this movie knocks my socks off.
I just don't care. The original Ghostbusters will still be there. This just looks generic, and that doesn't make me go whoa, you're messing with my child. I just that looks kind of dull. I don't think I'll see that.
I'll
Redbox that. Not a big deal.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll watch it and then I'll forget about it, and that'll be that.
Give me some Bankman. Give me some original guys.
They're all cameoing in it, but as different characters.
See, that's lame. That's lame.
What I don't like about this movie is we had years and years of talk about Ghostbusters 3, and everyone would bring it up at different points, and then nothing happened. And then Harold Ramis dies, and what was it, less than a month after he died, they're like, we're doing the Ghostbusters! Why?
But the thing that always, I've always read was it wasn't Ramis that was holding it up, it was Bill Murray who was holding it up.
It sounded like a little bit of everyone.
Probably because you don't mess with something that's not broken.
I guess Bill Murray, he doesn't have an agent. He just has a phone number, in New York, and you just call it and leave a voicemail with a movie idea, and if he likes it, he'll call you back.
That's pretty damned ingenious.
You have to call this random phone number, pitch a movie, and then he'll call you back if he likes it.
I like it. Maybe we should call him and say, hey, we're doing this podcast out of a basement in central Maine. Would you like to be on it?
This is a studio. This is a finished part of the downstairs.
Okay, so there's a finished part of the downstairs with great comic book art everywhere. And then there's 2 cardboard boxes cut open with foam surrounding them.
It's professional foam.
I don't care if the foam is elite professional foam. It's not even taped inside the box.
It fit in there like a glove. If you can see, it looks like they're reusing some stuff. They do mass hysteria in the new trailer. I'm like, I just don't care.
Do you think it's going to do well out of curiosity, or is it going to do well because people really care?
I think it's going to bomb because, I have no intention of seeing it. And I'll see it when it comes out in Redbox. And I'm not taking a stand. I've seen all this stuff on the internet of people
what if we're able to get our media movie passes? Would you go to see it for free in the theater?
Yep.
In the cinema?
Absolutely.
But here's a question. If you get the media movie passes?
You can go.
All right.
It would make reviewing it easier.
Free movies!
Well, I haven't tried yet. I also don't know if they do it near us or we'd have to go to Portland.
Christmas every day!
The big complaint is it's a cash grab. They're just using them. Yes, of course. Literally everything is a cash grab. Everything that is put out into the market, movies, TV, any kind of entertainment, any kind of anything.
This podcast.
Even this. I want to get money from this. Everything is a cash grab.
I will not see a single goddamn dime from this.
You'll get 20%.
It's recorded. 20%.
20% of the little profit. No, I'll start shopping this around to networks when we hit 15 episodes.
Oh, wow. 20%.
You're worth 20%.
Oh, hey. Oh, what? So 20% of $1, I get 20 cents?
We'll leave out what we'll get.
Damn. Literally. I could buy a coffee every 4 weeks.
I think that's just a bad argument. It's a cash grab, of course. Everything that is put out into the world, pretty much put out for money.
Why do they make movies? Why do people go into business? To make money.
Yeah.
It's not free entertainment. It's not Shakespeare in the Park.
So this is going to be...
Doth mother know you weareth the drapes?
This is a terrible Downey Jr.
It wasn't really... It was... Carry on.
All right. Editor's note exclusive.
Oh, yeah.
Exclusive. I know a couple of people who worked on the Ghostbusters movie.
What?
It's not that... They filmed in Boston. It wasn't that far away.
Were you
they did some stuff in Boston. But I know a couple of people who worked on it, and I guess they said, like, the director, Paul Feig, he was really great, like, really good energy on the set, and most of the cast was really funny, but they're like, Kate McKinnon is the worst. Like, she wasn't funny at all. She wasn't good on set, and they, like, had to pull her aside. Like they had to stop shooting one day and, like, pull Kate McKinnon aside, and then they restarted the next day, and she actually, like, was forced to, like, learn all of her lines.
Wow.
I guess she was the weak link on set, like, didn't do anything.
Heard it here first.
Editor's note exclusive. Who's distributing this? Please don't sue.
Yes.
Me? So Jared.
Oh, great. They're going to sue me for 20%. Damn it.
But they all, like, once she kind of got her stuff together after a while.
You know what 20% of nothing is? Nothing. So don't sue me. I'm a goddamn school teacher.
Yeah, I'm told that Kate McKinnon, she was the weak link of that movie. At least on set, when you get something edited together or have reshoots or ADR, who the hell knows?
It comes out this fall? Next spring.
I don't know. Well, it's probably summer. I'm not going to watch it. I don't care. When does it come out on Redbox?
Well,
I'll pay them like the $1.20 for a Blu-ray rental.
I'll pay them 20% of the $1.20.
Wait, you're going to chip in for my rentals?
Oh, no.
I don't think so. But, man, I thought news was going to be like 5 minutes. It was longer.
Oh, wow.
We're not even into the meat of the show.
Oh, let's get into the meat of the show then.
This week we're going to do something a little bit different. It's not quite a review, but it's going to be closer to a Jared's Reading Corner.
Aww.
It's Jared's Reading Corner.
So,
Yes, I did my damn reading this week.
After a lot of complaining.
You asked me to read a lot in like one sitting when I have a lot of stuff I'm doing in life.
No, you don't.
I really do, actually, though.
So what we're doing this week is we're going to be talking about Ninja Turtles comics and how it connects to the movies, especially the very, very early stuff and how that all ties in. Because the week after X-Men Apocalypse comes out, so next week we're going to have to talk about Apocalypse. After that, the new Ninja Turtle movies comes out, which we unfortunately have to see. You just got you sat up for a minute, you're like, I have to wait, what? No.
Why?
I know.
Can we just watch the 1992 movie again?
One that you could have picked any other year. There was one in 90, 91, and 93.
Oh, sorry. Can we?
You picked 92. You picked the off year.
Oh. Can we watch the 1990 movie? Oh, that's right, because I was watching something about it as I was doing my reading. There's this guy on YouTube who does this thing called CinemaSins, and he was saying that, this movie is so 1990 that 1991 is making fun of it.
Yeah, that movie is right between the 80s and 90s.
I love that movie, though.
So, what we're going to do this week, I'm going to give a little quick bit of history, and then we're going to get into the comparisons between... We'll talk about the comics, but also how it ties into the movie. Something that the original 1990 movie doesn't get a lot of credit for is this is really the first adapted comic book movie, and no one ever looks at it like that.
And as I was reading it, because I had never read the comics, and I read, 1 through 3?
And then a micro series.
And then the micro series. I was like, wow, this is stuff that's super familiar. I was literally, as I was walking out of the studio last week, and you handed me this book. You handed me the Ultimate Collection Volume 1. I was bitching so much, because it's like 320 pages of stuff, of reading. And I was like, oh my God.
You read like 150?
I read like 150. And you know when I started reading this 150 pages?
Yesterday.
Last night at like 9:30.
When I started texting you, are you ready?
Yes. And then I got home today from work.
You.
And as I was cooking dinner in the oven, I read the rest of it. I'm surprised. Like, the one thing I've learned is it doesn't take a long time to read through a book.
No, I mean, it depends on what you're doing. Some people are in it, they'll look at the art for a long time, or some people just... It also really depends on the issue. Some things are really dense, and some things are a quick read.
I am really dense.
That's not related to this book. So, Ninja Turtles, this comes out, and this is something that kind of connects to us, which is it's a New England-based book. One of the creators is from Maine.
Yeah, Westbrook. Kevin Eastman he was born in Portland, but went to Westbrook High School.
Very specific.
I did my research.
There you go.
I did my legwork.
Without kind of getting into how these guys met, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird meet, and they start Mirage Studios, which is the company that published the Turtles books, which is now essentially defunct. But these two guys, and the name Mirage was a joke because they didn't have a studio. They were just hanging out in a house, and their studio was a mirage. And that's how they got that. But these two guys are hanging out, and in 1983, Peter Laird is watching TV, and Kevin Eastman, just to mess with him, gives him a turtle, and they go back and forth, and eventually they, just with the collaboration between the two of them, come up with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And that's in 83, and then they're like, oh, what should our villain be? And Kevin Eastman has a cheese grater, and like, we should have someone called the Grater. And Peter's like, how about the Shredder? It's a much better name.
Yes, probably.
Than the Grater. But issue 1 of Ninja Turtles comes out in 1984. This is limited to only 3,000 copies.
Which they had to borrow $1,000 from one of their uncles in order to get it published.
Yeah, from Eastman's. And this was only meant to be a one-off. This wasn't meant to be a continuous thing. They did, the first story I think was 40 pages, and it was meant as a parody. There's a lot of similarities with other popular comics at the time, like Daredevil, New Mutants. So the whole origin of the ooze breaking and making the turtles into mutants, the canister that gives them their powers is supposed to be the same canister that hits Daredevil and blinds him and gives him his powers.
TGRI is everywhere.
TGRI was the movie. TCRI was the comic.
TCRI.
They switched the G and the C in that movie. And then...
Damn it. Foiled again.
In Daredevil, he fights a group of ninjas called the Hand.
The Foot Clan.
There you go. And his mentor is called Stick.
Splinter.
There you go. But the book was essentially designed as a parody. But it sold. It started selling in New Hampshire at a con, and it just kind of picked up speed, and then it started...
There was a second printing of 6,000 after the first 3,000, right?
I don't know off the top of my head. Did you read it in the book?
You told me not to really worry about the annotations as I was.
Because I was trying to cut out page count for it.
3,000 copies, and then it doesn't really say anymore. Maybe because I was also looking on like the internet as well about some stuff.
Yeah, but after that it started picking up speed, and then it became an ongoing that really went. I mean, they shut down for a while, but it essentially went until 2009.
Yeah, the other thing was like they were really revolutionary early on about how they did it. Like from the stuff I've read and in the book and online, they would draw pages and do it back and forth. Yeah,
there wasn't, you didn't have necessarily, because normally on a book you'd have a penciler and an inker. This was kind of a combination of the two. And this is going to make for bad audio, but I'm just going to flip this open for you. They used what was called duo shade. So if you look like here, and this is a certain type of paper, and they do the penciling, and then if you paint on it with a certain chemical, lines would come out going one direction. And if you paint on it with another chemical, they'll go in the other direction, so they would create the shading.
Oh, wow.
See, like there where it's darker, that's because you have the lines going both ways, like that kind of hatch cross.
And we're looking at, just for reference,
just any random page.
Any other random, yeah. But this is from looks like the third. This is issue 3 where April's driving the VW Bug through Central Park, and right as the couple's jumping off the bridge.
Yeah, but this is just an example of how they did it. It's also, the paper type is very, very heavy compared to...
There's also something I was reading online that you can tell if it is one of the original prints or not based on the feel of the paper.
Yeah, so with issue 1, like where I said it was only 3,000 copies, there's a lot of fakes online. Like you can look at it any day of the week, and you can go on eBay, if you type in like Ninja Turtles #1, people will be like, CGC graded 9.6 on white paper. It was printed on newspaper. This was done really cheaply, so it was yellow from day one. There's nothing white out there. It's really easy to spot fakes. I shouldn't say really easy. If you know what you're looking for, it's easy to spot fakes, because there's a ton of them.
All right.
I mean, the book it really helped blow up the indie scene back in the 80s, and then we all kind of saw where it exploded to. I can definitely say for me growing up as a kid, like I didn't know it was a comic. It was
you had the TV show. Yeah, you had the animated Saturday morning TV show on CBS as part of the CBS morning block of cartoons, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was one of them. Started late 80s, like 87, 88.
Keep going, one more.
89.
There you go.
Actually, before I came over, I finished reading. I watched because I used to have a VHS of because you could buy VHSs of 2 episodes, and I had one. It was Leonardo versus Tempestra.
I don't remember, but I believe you.
That is the one where they go to the arcade late at night, and the video game comes to life. It was ridiculous. Wave of instant nostalgia because I'd watched it. I wore the tape out watching it. I can't remember what the other one was on it because I was like, it's not as good. I think I had the turtle blimp in it. See, my friends had all the cool turtle stuff. Buddy of mine had the Technodrome. He had the turtle blimp. He had the turtle van that shot out the pizza slices. I just had like 2 action figures.
I had a lot of them as a kid. My poor parents, I think I harassed them. But, I mean, that's how I got introduced to it, was the toys. I was like, it must have been about 91, 92. Young boy, arrogant looking kid, blonde hair, blue eyes. This is me.
You don't have blonde hair?
Not anymore. I used to be platinum.
Really?
But there was this kid, and I didn't have any social graces. I just went up to people as a kid. I was like, what you got there? He's like, Ninja Turtle. And then
you don't have any social graces now.
I was more forward as a child.
Yes, now you actually like have a slight bit of professionalism.
Yeah, when I have to.
Yes.
But okay.
But yeah, like for me, like the Turtles was like 1990. When the movie came out, I was 6, 7. So really, my friends, we got the movie, we had the toys, and the big thing about the movie, like as I watch it when I got older, I appreciated it more because there was like some really cool stuff. Like at the end, Raphael on the roof yelling "bitchin'." It's like, wow, that's in a Turtles movie? I didn't realize it at the time.
We learned so many curses. I guess I can spin off of that a little bit. I guess for the second movie, because if you look like online now, everyone complains about like the lack of violence. I guess what happened is this whole parent group came together and they put together like this massive like 100-page document documenting like every time there was a curse or someone hit someone. It was this whole like look at how you're corrupting the youth, and then that's why you kind of get the toned down thing in the second movie, is because there was this not just people complaining, but they came with documentation.
See, I still like Secret of the Ooze. I thought it had some cool stuff. I mean, Vanilla Ice notwithstanding, but it is less grittier. I mean, think about when there was Casey Jones and they're making fun of him. They're like, "What are you, claustrophobic?" He's like, "I've never looked at a guy that way."
It's a weird line.
It is.
But what I want to do here is we're kind of go through the first 4 issues. I'll kind of let Jared take the lead on it because, Jared's reading corner. And we'll tie it into how well does something from the 80s hold up now? Is it something that you can introduce to a new audience? Because this is still stuff that's being reprinted. It's out in the world again. And how does it connect to the movies and pop culture and all the different incarnations that most of us saw as children? Take it away. Issue 1.
The thing I'll say is these felt more gritty than the movies in places because, in the movies, there's so many similarities. Like, there was a lot of this stuff is beat for beat in the book is in the movies.
Yeah, I mean, some of the dialogue is lifted out of it. The story is really similar, especially the movie takes liberties from, I'm not going to list every issue that it does, but it really, from like the first 11 issues, it takes a lot of influence from, and you didn't read that far into it because some of them, they go off into space for a while, so that space stuff doesn't tie into it too much. But they come back, like even stuff like when April starts randomly narrating in the middle of the movie and she's doing all these sketches of them.
Yeah.
That's beat for beat out of the book. So people are like, why is she narrating? It's like, because it's literally...
But April is here isn't working for Channel 6 News.
No, the Channel 6 News stuff was a creation of the cartoon.
And that was what got tied into the movie.
Yeah.
Because she worked for Baxter Stockman.
That's issue 2. What happens in issue 1?
Oh, sorry. Issue 1, we we're introduced to the Turtles. And, like, right away, like, I was like, wow, these guys are more violent than, like, the movie.
One of the things we should say is this is all black and white.
It is all black and white.
You can get reprints in color, but
it opens up with them, taking out some guys with, like, a double-barreled sawed-off shotgun. And
the Purple Dragons.
The Purple Dragons. They whoop up on the Purple Dragons. The cops show up, and they run away from the cops. And then you go right immediately into the origin story with Splinter.
Yeah, they're like, this is our first outing, and we succeeded.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I should probably tell you guys where you came from.
Yeah, which, like, it's like right away, like, it's almost beat for beat what's going on.
It's something different from in the comics and also in the movie from, like, the cartoon. A couple of the cartoons have had Splinter turning from a human into a rat.
Yeah.
Versus this having him
always be a rat.
Yeah, and he was just his master's pet.
But now, like, his master, Yoshi...
gets it on.
Well, not only does he get... But there was that small piece of love interest in the origin story in the first Turtles movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it's reversed where...
Yeah, they cut out an entire character in the movie.
Yeah, they cut out an entire character in the movie who Yoshi kills. He kills Orokusa's...
Orokunagi.
Sorry. He kills Orokunagi's brother.
No, the other way around.
No, yeah. See, you didn't let me... I was going there.
That's my fault.
So now you have to cut it out. Because what's Splinter's name? Urugusaki.
No, Splinter is Hamato Yoshi.
Yes, Hamato Yoshi, but who is Uruku?
Nagi, that's the brother that
Yeah,
ends up
Urugu.
dying.
Yeah, but Urugusaki
Is the one who gets all pissy. He's like,
Yes.
I'm gonna take my revenge
So as I
now.
was saying, Urugusaki in the movie kills Yoshi's lover and kills Yoshi and slices off Splinter's ear.
But this is violent. They don't show you exactly how the death happens. You just see these fists covered with blood.
Yes.
There's a lot of, like, what you don't see is more violent than what you could ever see on the page. This is a violent book.
Oh, yeah. So, long story short,
Because there's a lot of dialogue in this.
yes, Yoshi kills Shredder's brother, and
This rat gets all pissy.
this wreck gets all pissy. But then, Yoshitatsu, is it Yoshitatsu?
Hamato Yoshi.
Hamato Yoshi. Yoshitatsu is like something totally different. They move to New York, and he starts his own dojo, and then he's followed there by Urugusaki, who starts his own New York chapter of the Foot, because they're all part of the Foot, and Yoshi is excommunicated, for lack of a better word, from the Foot Clan. And then Urugusaki comes and finally kills Yoshi, and
As the
his wife-
Shredder.
as the Shredder, and then this whole confluence of like strange things happens.
And then what your normal Turtles origin.
Then you get to
Ooze falls down a sewer.
the turtles are in the sewer. They all get together, and again, like that whole scene where they all double. I mean, it's almost like exact word for word, like in the book. It's like the next morning I woke up to find that the can tipped over and the four doubled the size, like the four of you doubled in size. That is like word for word in the movie.
They just don't say pizza.
Yeah, they say Splinter. Pizza. But even like some of the art
I'm not gonna do like
looks like what they did in the movie. So that's like really cool. But the big thing here is like, and the huge deviation.
they spelled Michelangelo wrong. Did you notice that?
Yes, I did notice that. But the big deviation here is like in the movies, like Splinter's like training them to help people. In the book, he's training to friggin' assassinate Shredder.
Yeah, Splinter's a cold-blooded killer in this.
Oh yeah.
Like, even in the books, he eventually becomes more of the kind of like loving fatherly figure.
But like
At the start, he's like, no, blood vengeance.
He's
I
like-
have raised you for 15 years for murder.
yeah, he is like, you four are gonna be my personal assassins.
Like, look, I'm an old rat. I need you to kill a man.
So they go and like Urugusaki is like leading like a gang and like roughing people up for protection. So Raphael throws a sigh with a note on it, which pretty much says, you're ashamed to dishonor your family.
It's like that moment in Blade Runner, like, wake
Yeah.
up, time to die.
Beat by 4 disciples for a duel to the death. And I love this panel here. There will be a duel and there will be death. Theirs.
And this first issue especially, this is super like cheesy, super 80s.
Oh yeah, like come face your doom. And then the Shredder's on the rooftop. So we get that rooftop battle you get at the end of the 1990 movie.
Yeah,
But it's
a lot more
way roundabout way of getting there.
because they
Don't break down.
they fight the foot soldiers,
Yeah.
but there's blood.
Oh yeah.
This is a brutal
The
fight.
turtles get marred up and everything. So there's a big fight on the roof, which kind of like feels like it's the fight in the movie, the fight from inside Second Time Around Antiques when they burned down April's house.
No, that's also pulled straight from the book. You just didn't read that. The only difference is it was Leonardo instead of Raphael.
Yeah, but like in this, like I haven't gotten that far.
Oh no, really? No, it's like beat for beat from
Oh,
the
really?
books too. Yeah, no, it's that one up there
Which
from the Leonardo micro series.
really?
Except it's at Christmas and in the snow, but yeah, it's pretty much
Oh.
exactly the same.
So anyway, long story short, they fight. I love the big 2-page spread of the fight going on. Which reading it, they took a lot of their inspiration from Jack Kirby.
Yeah,
And, like,
these
the
guys
Kirby layouts.
these are Kirby fanatics,
And so they pretty much beat all the Foot Clan.
but they are beat down, bloody,
Oh yeah,
cut up.
they're cut up.
Because they just had to kill a bunch of ninjas,
And then
and now all the
yeah.
ninjas are dead.
And then like they kill them, and then they take out Shredder individually, and they get their asses kicked. And then they're like, "All right, well, let's just all fight him together." And then so they start throwing, ninja stars and things at him. And then all of a sudden, they're really like actually kicking his ass. Then, and they just beat the hell out of Shredder. No Splinter anywhere to be found.
No, he's sitting home sipping tea. He's like,
Just waiting for this to happen.
hope they kill him.
So then they like do all this fight. They finally have him beat, and they're like, "Here, I'm gonna give you."
Well, he gets stabbed. He gets gutted.
Oh, yeah.
Leonardo stabs him through the gut. After this, 4-on-1 battle, shanks him.
Yeah. I love, they call them, the scene, we turtles are not dogs without honor. And they wanted to, commit seppuku.
I don't know how to pronounce it either.
I think yeah. And he's
essentially suicide. Killing yourself with honor.
Yeah, like a samurai warrior would.
Yeah. So, but instead, twist.
No, he's got a thermite grenade
right out of Star Wars.
Yeah. So there's so many different influences, and he's like, no. So
Donatello
throws his bow staff at him, hits him square in the head, knocks him off the side of the. This thermite grenade goes off and doesn't destroy the building, but the thing is, there's no body left. His body vaporizes.
Oh, he's dead.
Oh, he's very dead.
He's super dead.
He has to be dead.
The whole thing is, Eastman and Laird, they didn't like this idea of,
bringing back villains.
Yeah, just this, continuous rotation. So, no, he's dead. We've killed him. He's never coming back. We exploded him.
Yeah.
He also comes back.
Yes.
Eventually. But not really him. It's a clone of him with worms.
Yeah. But I love
that's the thing. Worm clone.
I love the last panel though, where and reading some of the annotation, I think it was Eastman who says it. He loves that line. We strike hard and fade away into the night.
Yeah. So we can tie this a little bit into reading recommendations. So, kind of a brief history of Turtles comics. Mirage Studios was notoriously terrible for putting out any kind of collection. They did do a couple of them, sporadically. They were pretty good about putting out the first 11 issues. They did that a couple of times, but beyond that, if you wanted to read past issue 11, best of luck. You have to hunt down all the individual ones. But then, in 2009, the Ninja Turtle property got sold to Viacom, and Nickelodeon being a subsidiary of Viacom, and also IDW. IDW started publishing all the old Turtles books, and especially there are 5 volumes that are from the Eastman and Laird kind of run, without getting too deep into it, essentially just dealing too much with business and the company growing too much and them being kind of stressed out. There was really a core 15 issues that they put out, and then they had a falling out, and they came back together to work together a couple of times. So there's 5 really amazing hardcover collections that IDW put out that really aren't that pricey. They're beautiful, beautiful quality. Some of the best I've ever seen for a graphic novel. Great stock. They're oversized issues. They look really good. But the first 5 volumes, there was recently a 6th one, but that's mostly collecting. I should say mostly. It entirely collects backup strips or short stories that were done in other issues, or if something had a second printing, they might throw a new backup story in there just to incentivize, and it collected all that stuff. But the Ultimate collections are amazing, amazing quality. And the other thing that they did is they got Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird to essentially give commentary on every issue. And they both, depending on the issue, put a different amount of effort into it.
Yeah, it's definitely has it's a director's cut almost.
Yeah.
It's like it's like reading the comic book with they're there as you're reading the book.
It's definitely the best way to read these books ever. Yeah. I mean, if you try and hunt down a first printing of issue 1 these days, it'll run you about $3,000. So, maybe not worth it.
No.
I guess depending on who you are.
Yes.
And I say this is me.
Yes, you're a huge Turtles fan. I mean, you've got a half dozen.
Pretty much all of them but one.
Yeah, everyone except the first 7, plus the micro series on your wall.
And a bunch of pages spread throughout the house.
Yes. In fact, one of the guys who's worked on the Ninja Turtles comics
designed my logo.
Designed the logo for the shop.
Yeah. Steve Levy, the guy who came in after Eastman and Laird, is the first one through the door. Yeah, I asked him to design my logo.
Yep. And he's done a signing at the shop, too.
Yep. And hopefully more in the future. We'll see.
Are we going to keep going with the episode?
Yeah. No, let's...
With the books
So, this first issue, I mean, how do you think it holds up as far as being able to... Because this came out, and some people can you introduce this to a new audience?
I think if you've seen the movie, they're both kind of... I feel like the movie and the book are close enough. I mean, they're never gonna be as good as one or the other, but I feel like the problem is I came in with expectations because I grew up watching the Turtles on Saturday mornings and the movies, and although Turtles in Time, Turtles 3 where they time travel.
Well, eventually on a Blu-ray disc did get a subtitle of Turtles in Time because so many people called it that, even though it didn't have that originally.
Yes, because that's the video game.
Yeah.
The third one's got The first two I liked.
Yep, the third movie, I'm not positive, I'm 90% sure that's the first movie I saw in theaters.
Really? Well,
because that was 93.
Editor's Note exclusive.
I would have been 5 at the time when that came out.
No, I think it holds up. I really do. I think, especially with the original movie.
It's a different beast. It's even a different beast than, especially this first issue, than even some of the following stuff, because, it was meant to be a complete story.
Yes.
And after that, you don't really get that with these next couple issues.
No, the next couple issues, you kind of it starts to dive into a story arc. Like the first one is a standalone, and then you start to get into a story arc.
A $3,000 standalone.
A $3,000 standalone. So yeah, we're getting to episode 2. Or I say episode 2,
yeah.
book 2.
Which connects a little bit less to the movies, but there's still definitely some stuff that carries over. Yeah,
I mean, it gets some stuff from the video, in the video game. I mean,
in the TV
if
show.
you're listening to this podcast, you know how huge the Turtles were in the late 80s, early 90s, through the 90s. Video games, toys, movies.
They're back in a big bad way now. Go to any store, try and not find something Turtles related.
But I feel like they're different now than they were then.
I don't think to the kids.
Well,
to adults, yeah, but I mean,
yeah.
I think the boom is.
But that's like you grow up knowing something and then it changes for a new generation.
Yeah.
Is this how people that saw Star Wars in the 70s feel now?
I mean, at this point, it's really had 3 big booms. There was the first kind of in the late 80s, early 90s. Then there was kind of the early 2000s when the second, I shouldn't say second, technically the third TV, or fourth, if you want to count the anime. Let's just go with the second popular show came out. And then, again, recently
They had a cameo on the friggin' Power Rangers.
It was not a popular show. It was a bad show.
They had a cameo on the Power Rangers. Anyway, into
issue 2.
Issue 2.
So this one starts off a little bit of an arc, and this one focuses on characters we've never seen in a film, but you've seen them in basically every other medium, the Mousers.
The Mousers and Baxter Stockman.
Yeah, and this is going to be our second Editor's Note exclusive.
We need to get a sound effect for the exclusive if you keep digging up these exclusives.
Look, I'm running out of exclusives. I don't know if we need a clip for it.
Going to the well one too many times.
So, Baxter Stockman, so I've been told, and I haven't found this on the internet. That doesn't mean it's not there. I looked for about 45 seconds. Baxter Stockman is based off of Kevin Eastman's girlfriend's father.
Ooh.
That's about all I have.
Insider information.
Exclusive.
When you whisper like that, it makes it sound creepy and not exclusive.
All right, so issue 2. We're introduced to a couple of major elements. We got the Mousers, Baxter Stockman, and this is our first issue with
April O'Neil.
A lady.
A lady friend.
What's her job?
She's Baxter's lab assistant.
Yeah, not a news reporter.
Not a news reporter. I love it opens right up and they are we see them in sometimes the comic, not the comic, but the cartoon. They're just kind of fooling around in the house. Splinter's watching TV. They got, one of them's got their mask off. Actually, a couple of them have their mask off. It looks like Raphael and Donatello have their masks off. Raphael and Leonardo are fighting. Oh no, it looks like, nope, sorry.
This is the third to 10.
Now that I look at it deeper, Raphael and Michelangelo are sparring. Donatello's working on some computer circuit board. And, Leonardo's sitting with Splinter. So they kind of
reading Dune.
He's reading Dune. They kind of fall into their roles that they didn't really have. In the first one, you don't really get.
They didn't really.
Donatello's the guy who likes.
No, they didn't have personalities.
They didn't have personalities.
They were all interchangeable in that first issue.
They were all trained assassins. So they're watching the TV, and Baxter Stockman's talking about helping with the rat population in New York, and this Mouser kills this lab rat, eats it like a Tyrannosaurus Rex in front of cameras and everything. So obviously this concerns
the gigantic rat.
The gigantic rat. Meanwhile, Michelangelo and Raphael are tearing the hell out of the sewer cave. Which, by the way, how did they get TV and cable down in there?
Stole it.
Well, I figured as much. But are they running a long cable down from the dominoes on the corner or something?
I'd imagine. The Turtles, because no studio would buy them, I don't think it holds true anymore, but for about 20 years, they were the highest grossing independent film of all time because it was technically an indie film. Because no one would buy it. Fun fact.
I just remember, like, there were a lot of horror stories about the suits.
Yeah, guys just passing out.
I mean, there's no way to read them. Anyway, we digress. So April kind of like shows like her nose for trouble right away, and kind of like figures out that
these are some creepy robots you have.
Yes, and that he's got like thousands and like of them or hundreds of them.
And his plan is, I'm evil.
I'm evil, and I'm going to ransom the city
money.
because my little mouse of robots are like undermining the infrastructure of the city.
Yep, he threatens the city on live television, destroys a building, and then very awkwardly threatens to destroy the World Trade Center.
Yeah, well, it's awkward now, but in 1984 or 85.
Why are you looking at it?
But April O'Neil, total babe, total fox, but she's wearing her one-piece jumpsuit, ends up in the sewer.
As one does.
Yes, as one does when all evil people have a trapdoor that drops in there. What's even more freaky though is there's the panel where Baxter's like tracking her. She's like he's got this middle screen that has like an outline of her body and like a personnel like information about
a full
her.
Body scan.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy.
So why do you think? So what we didn't mention is
he looks like an older Carlton Banks in this.
Before you read this, if I said what race is Baxter Stockman, what would you have said?
Caucasian.
Yeah, why do you think they changed that? I don't have an answer.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Just throwing that out there. Why is he?
Does he grow because he ends up like in the cartoons he has wings?
Yeah, he becomes a fly. No, he doesn't become a fly in this.
So again, there's another good question.
He puts his brain into the body of a robot.
Like Krang?
No, just his brain.
Oh.
Not like it. No.
Not into like the midsection of the robot, like Krang is in the midsection of a robot.
No, like just his brain in a robot. And then he blows up.
Well, that's what happens when you lose your brain.
No, he did it to himself.
Well, that's what happens. So anyway, she runs to the sewer, runs away from Mousers, and then all of a sudden she meets the turtles. Little different than in the movie when she meets the turtles after she's getting mugged in the sewer. She actually doesn't really meet them. Then Raphael drops his sigh after he saves her from the mugging.
Yep, in a trench coat.
Yes. Nobody ever thinks anything of it that Raphael is going to the movies in a trench coat, does not look anything like a human being. He's a turtle in a trench coat with a hat.
I want to know why they were
second worst disguise. Second what?
Why were they replaying Critters in 1990?
That's another good question. But more importantly, that's like the second worst disguise after Clark Kent's glasses.
Sometimes they wear glasses with the trench coat and the hat.
Yeah, but I'm saying Clark Kent only wore glasses. These guys are wearing trench coats.
Look, I could get into the glasses thing. That's for a different episode. This is not a Superman episode.
So yeah, anyway, April wakes up, and I love this little panel for the origin story of Splinter and the Turtles. See issue 1. So if you hadn't seen issue 1, it is like, oh, what are these guys? And
do you know what that is? What those little asides are?
What are they?
They don't label it in this one. Those are editor's notes.
Ooh.
That's literally that. Yeah. Did you know? Yes, it's a comic-related term.
Yeah. Well, editor's note is also
Yeah, it's in books, but yeah, whenever have these little asides like see issue, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
There's like editor's.
So
note.
that's the origin of the editor's note comic store name.
Yeah, basically.
So anyway, like you said, he threatens buildings. Actually, demolishes a building, and at this point, Splinter's like, okay, we've got to go stop this dude. So
he's like, now that I've killed a man, I have a thirst for blood.
Yeah, those damn sewer rats in New York City. Which interesting that this isn't. Maybe it's just me. New York's probably like a bigger city. But two New England guys. Why doesn't it take place in Boston? Always New York.
And that's why. The book is still to a point of parody. Everything was in New York.
Yes. All right. So they apprehend Baxter, and Baxter's like, "Oh, yeah, I got you now." And pretty much Raphael knocks him the hell out. He's filled the elevator shaft up with rubble so they can't escape. And Mousers are coming after him.
How did he do that? That must have taken some time. Gotta fill this elevator shaft with rocks.
Did you ever think about how he was going to get out? So then they find some explosives, and they set off this explosion in the sewer.
As you would do in any laboratory.
And the Mousers still get through while Donatello's working on, shutting them down.
Yeah, and they're starting to get a hint of personality here, and some different traits. Like you have some anger from Raphael in the beginning, and
yeah, and they finally get it to work, and
Basically, they just shut off the power.
They shut the power off.
That's the gist. The power gets turned off.
Yes, because they're receiving the radio transmission. Because Baxter Stockman hits the failsafe, so they won't, they won't stop. So there's that. And then they find out this,
Well, and that ends issue 2.
Issue 2.
And this is the first time, obviously, that they've had kind of an ongoing thing. It wraps up, but, there's still more to be had.
Do you want me to continue on with an entire recantation, or should we say, if this has not hooked you, you should get these. You should get these and read on.
Yeah, that's because the next one, I think we can speed through this issue 3. A lot less happens.
Yeah, Splinter's missing, so
yeah, they go back to the lair. He's not there,
and the lair's trash. They end up going to April's, which is kind of what happens in the movie.
Yeah, except in the movie, she doesn't give them a bunch of beer.
No, she offers them beer. Do they even drink the beer, though?
They do. They like to drink beer in these books.
All right, now we're talking. But there's a great chase through Central Park.
Which is through just, so they get, there's a chasing that happens because the cops are looking for another van that's similar. And there's just a chasing for really no good reason. But issue 3 is kind of weak. I'm going to say it.
But the big thing at the end of issue 3 is Splinter is picked up by people at TCRI, not TGRI, as it is in the movie.
Techno Cosmic Research Institute, I think.
But they don't they were going to kill him in the sewer, but then they don't.
Because he can talk.
The big ending thing is he enters a room and it's brains. It's aliens, it's Krang.
Except they're not called Krang. This race is called the Utroms. But, yeah, you're seeing exactly where Krang got the influence from in that cartoon.
Yes. So there's
big brain and a robot body.
And then you get the one-issue micro-series.
Yeah, and so this is what they called a micro-series. It was, again, just keeping with that parody thing. Everyone was doing all these different mini-series that were you have to buy the side story, blah, blah, blah. So Mariah was just kind of jokingly, they made a micro-series, just calling it a one-off, and all of the main characters got one. They got their one-issue micro-series.
And this is how we meet Casey Jones.
Yeah, and this is and this tying right back, first movie.
Yeah, and really interesting, funny thing, 1990, they're shitting on Jose Canseco.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Jose Canseco bat? Please tell me you didn't pay money for that.
Yeah, in this, Casey's just a guy who likes to watch 80s action movies. He's like, I'm going to beat some people up.
Yeah.
Because I like an action movie.
I love the irony of, the Turtles, who are essentially vigilantes, criticizing a vigilante.
You say that so weird.
Vigilante?
Instead of vigilante.
Vigilante?
Yeah, but in this one issue, there's a mugging that's happening, and this is the first time we get caricatures of Eastman and Laird.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it looks like Laird is copping a feel.
Oh boy.
Look, I didn't draw it.
It's true.
But that's a thing.
That's pretty cool.
They cameoed as muggers in their own book.
Yeah.
With Kevin Eastman's little tweedly late 80s mustache.
Yes. So these muggers get the shit kicked out of them by Casey Jones. And then...
Who's ready to kill him.
Yeah.
For, stealing a purse.
Yes. And now Raphael and Casey Jones fight.
They fight 3 separate times in this one issue.
Yes.
And it's not really... Their ideologies aren't that different. It's how much should we beat people up?
Yeah, and at the very end, though, they're like, all right, there's another person getting mugged. They're like, all right, we'll just take care of it together. And that's the end of the one-off.
And Raphael's essentially there to be like, listen, Psycho, I'm going to beat them up, but make sure that you don't, kill them.
Yes.
And then they become the best of friends who are both kind of crazy.
Well, it makes sense.
All right, so what'd you think?
I enjoyed it. I did. I really, really liked it.
Except that first movie doesn't get enough credit.
No, it all comes back to... I love that movie.
Would you ever have known how much they were pulling from the books? Take the stuff that came before that.
No.
Superman is they were kind of rolling with the origin, but they weren't taking a lot from the books. Batman, they take a little bit, and I do mean a little, from the Killing Joke, but it's not what I would call an adaptation.
There are things in this book.
This is straight adapted.
It is beat for beat, word for word in places.
And, they made it a little more kid-friendly, and they do the whole colored bandana thing.
Yeah, well...
They take elements from both. They take things from the cartoon and the books, but, this really is the first comic book movie to adapt its source material. And,
and that movie for me still stands up. I would go home and watch it tonight if it wasn't so late.
Yeah, I still enjoy that. The others not as much. But that first movie is still something that
No, that first movie, it does give it's got a good...
It holds up for us. I mean,
it does have a good hero arc, you know.
You show it to a kid now, they'd be like, what the hell is this?
I think you...
Like, that's the 90s.
Yeah, I don't see what would be wrong. The music, the electronic music.
But that's kind of the start of it. I mean, I love these books. I love... Something that I like about indie books is that they're contained. You don't have that endlessly sprawling, like... And I like the sprawling history of things to a point, but this is contained. If you wanted to, you could read all of it.
Yeah, and it's in a contained universe.
Yeah, and it's just... I mean, they went on, and there were a lot of guest creators that came in and did their own thing, but...
But it doesn't really have, like, the multiple branches and the multiple... It keeps the arc.
No, I mean, and you can read different... Or you can read or watch different interpretations of this. There's the stuff that Mirage put out, or Image... or Archie, or you could go watch the cartoons or the movies. There's different ways to get this material, but this Mirage stuff, this is my favorite. I love this stuff.
The original, like, 80s, 90s stuff.
Go and read it. I'm going to switch over to a quick reading recommendation.
Let's put a smile on that face.
This week's reading recommendations.
I can also accept that if this isn't something that, like, it is still very of its time. If this isn't for you, and like I said, when the sale happened in 2009, in 2011, IDW, also utilizing Kevin Eastman to help guide the ship, they started putting out their own Ninja Turtles series, which is still ongoing and is at, like, issue 58 with a bunch of side stories. But, you know, start at the beginning if you like it. Great.
There's a Carmelo Anthony
special that comes out tomorrow. I haven't read it yet. It's upstairs. I just haven't read it yet.
I know.
Carmelo Anthony apparently likes the Turtles. But for a reading recommendation, I'd recommend getting the Ultimate Collection stuff. If maybe the 80s, 90s stuff isn't for you, try the IDW series starting with Volume 1, Change is Constant. It's very easy to get. You can buy it at Editor's Note Comics in downtown Hollowell.
On Water Street.
I do have it. But that will kind of do it. I'm sure when we review the Turtles movie in a couple of weeks, we'll touch on the other movies.
Nice. We have a letter to the editor.
Here's your letters to the editors. To submit your questions, email us at editorsnotecomics@gmail.com.
All right, in this, for our second week ever, we are going to have letters to the editor. If you have your own questions, you can tweet at Editors Note Comics or email us at editorsnotecomics@gmail.com. I was looking at my phone. I hope I said the email address right. Question.
Statement.
Stop it. You're not helping with the letter. So in the comics, some of the X-Men are the Avengers, right? But is it true that the X-Men movie rights are owned by a different company? So that's why there won't be any X-Men in the Avengers movie? Question mark.
Answer? You're absolutely correct.
Mostly correct.
Like, yes, mostly correct.
Yeah, I mean, in the books, there are a lot of X-Men characters who have gone over to Avengers books. Some of the more notable ones would be, like, definitely the biggie would be Beast and Wolverine. You have Rogue, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, Deadpool. These are all people who have Avengers.
You do have Quicksilver in both.
Yep, and that's the one. And I don't know the exact dealings with the contract, but Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are technically owned by both movie studios. And I think this is probably due to how early Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch joined the Avengers team. They are really early in that roster. Like, these weren't like characters who would join the Avengers like way, way down the road. Like, they weren't like the first round, but they were damn close. So I think due to their history with the team, they end up being owned by both studios, who can both use them equally and be killed equally, like Marvel did.
Yes.
But unless, and I don't see it happening. I don't see Fox and Marvel playing nice and doing like what Sony did with Spider-Man, because in the fall it sounds like Marvel is going to cancel all of the X-Men books.
Ooh.
And they did this they canceled Fantastic Four, and what they ended up doing is they just plucked the more popular characters from that book and just popped them on different teams. So it sounds like they'll do that with the X-Men. The way the contract works is any character who is created in a Fantastic Four book or an X-Men book, including now, immediately goes to Fox. So the rule at Marvel for the last couple of years has been you can't create characters in those books. You can pluck other characters, bring them on in.
Because they're already under our umbrella.
Yeah, but no characters could be created in a X-Men book or a Fantastic Four book, which led to Fantastic Four getting canceled. And I think we might have talked about this before, but if you go look at T-shirts of something from if you go buy a Secret Wars T-shirt any of the Fantastic Four characters have been completely cut out or replaced by other characters. I think it's super petty, but...
Well, when you're talking about millions of dollars, you're only going to give me 20% of the goddamn podcast. Talk about petty.
It is petty, because, I mean...
Yes,
if someone goes,
actually, at least 25%.
If someone goes to watch an X-Men movie, and they like it, they might go buy an X-Men comic. Like, or Marvel will still make money off of that, but they just have no interest in sharing their toys.
But I think when you get to the big scheme of it, and not to undercut the value of the paper book, Marvel is going to make more money per person on the movie than they are per person on the book.
Oh, definitely. But it's also one of those, I never understood, like, why cut these things out, because you're still going to make money on the book. People are still going to turn around and buy it based on if a movie is good or not. I mean,
cutting your nose to spite your face.
Deadpool, they don't have this problem with Deadpool. They are pumping out more Deadpool books than they know what to do with.
But again, who are we to judge, because the publishers are making money hand over fist with movie and book. So
yeah,
they know what they're doing, obviously.
And that will do it for our letters. So I'm going to do something a little different to do one more part of the show.
Holy cow, this is like the longest show that we've ever done.
We'll see how much I cut.
This doesn't matter how much you cut. This is the longest show.
It's good we have content. Tomorrow, DC is doing their big Rebirth event.
Yes, tomorrow, but by the time the podcast comes out, it will be past tomorrow.
Today, DC is doing their Rebirth event, because I'll have this edited by tomorrow night. So I'm going to start off with non-spoilers, and then I am going to literally spoil everything. So I'm going to throw this out there, kids. This is my cautionary tale. If you tweet at someone famous, turn off your email notifications. I tweeted at Jeff Johns earlier today after I read Rebirth. I got a retweet, which I looked at my phone, I'm like, oh, that's neat. That was nice. And since then, there have been a couple hundred notifications that went off on my phone, and within the first 3 minutes, I was desperately finding out how to turn off email notifications for Twitter.
If you want to harass him, at Editor's Note Comics, is that what the Twitter handle is?
Yeah. I was like,
favorite the shit out of his tweets right now.
That's what... Well,
wake him up in the middle of the night.
The email notification is off. It's fine now. So people would come into the shop like, what is Rebirth? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if it's a reboot. Like, what's going on? It's been kind of vague. So it's not a reboot. So back in 2011, there was the Flashpoint event. Barry Allen time travels back to save his mother from being killed. And by doing that, this creates this whole ripple effect where a whole new universe is created, where Barry never becomes the Flash.
It's the butterfly effect.
Yeah. Instead of Batman or Bruce being shot in an alley... I'm sorry. Instead of Bruce's parents being shot in an alley, Bruce is shot in an alley, his dad becomes Batman, his mom becomes the Joker. It's this whole terrible world.
The alternate 1985.
Yeah, but Barry ends up having to go back in time again to stop himself from changing the timeline. This creates a variation. Everything still happens, but things happen slightly differently.
I'm so lost.
Basically, which was the new 52. So what it was is DC was trying to mix things up and also make things more concise. They had like 80-odd titles, cut it down to 52 titles, and essentially started over without starting over. There was still some history, but they tweaked it where they wanted to. They had some mandates like you couldn't have any characters that were married. Some characters were completely erased. Some were totally altered in their history. And some were just kind of revamped to be cooler and hipper.
Damn it, Flash, why'd you have to go and screw everything up?
And no underwear on the outside anymore.
That's probably
big
a
man
good thing. Probably a good thing. No Quail Man.
But what Rebirth is doing, without spoiling it, they're not taking away the new 52. It's still that universe, but they're pulling things that, what they're essentially doing is they're listening to fans. All the things that you've complained about, they're essentially going, yeah, fine, we're going to do that again. Like, the things where people really yelled the most. And there's been this promo image out there for a while now of all of the DC characters rushing towards this one hand in the sky. It kind of looks like the 16th Chapel. Where you have
it's not the 16th Chapel, it's the Sistine Chapel.
I like to write it. It's even how I wrote it down.
Oh, it's the Sistine Chapel, not the 16th Chapel.
That's what I like to call it. You can see that I wrote
Oh
it
my
down
God. What's wrong with you?
I think it's funnier to say it that way.
Like, you're about to have a whole bunch more culture entered into your life in a couple of months, and you call it the 16th Chapel?
Yep.
I ought to slap you. I'm more incredulous over this than the fact that I have to pee so bad you won't free me from the podcast for 30 seconds to go pee. You call it the God. It's the Sistine Chapel. It's the hand of God. It's where they elect the frigging Pope, and you call it the 16th Chapel?
Yeah, basically forever.
Oh my God.
But they've had essentially that image, and it's been like, well, who are they reaching for? What is this character? And when I started reading the book, boy, was it obvious. Overall, this is one of my favorite things I've ever read. It is strong. And it really returns DC to form. And the New 52 is fine. I liked a lot of it. A lot of it I didn't. And this is really... They listened. They gave people what they wanted. The ending throws a bit of a curveball in there. I'm curious to see where it goes. There's some interviews from certain creators that I'm really looking forward to reading. But overall, it's an amazing, amazing read. I'd say probably the most emotional scene I've ever read in a comic is in this individual issue. Buy it. It's 80 pages. It's only $2.99. It is well worth the money. That is my non-spoiler review, and now I'm going to spoil literally everything. If you want to turn off the podcast now, go for it.
Before we do that, we'll do this twice. Where can we find you?
EditorsNoteComics.com, at Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at EditorsNoteComics, on iTunes and YouTube. Please review and subscribe on iTunes. I would like to see more of those so I can then sell us to a podcast network and make money.
Yes, of which I'll get 30%.
20%.
25.
You've agreed to 20. We have it on.
Not officially. At Junior Rich on Twitter. I appreciated the shout out from the Ed Heads. Yeah, go ahead and market the shit out of yourselves.
Bravo. So Rebirth. Now again, full spoilers. I'm literally leaving nothing out.
There's a friggin' Tyrannosaurus Rex on page whatever this is.
That's in Batman's cave. It's in the Bat Cave.
Why is it? Is it a real T-Rex or is it just like a T-Rex head? It's a real
robot.
T-Rex.
No, it's a robot T-Rex.
Oh, kind of like Jurassic Park.
It's essentially his guard.
FYI, for those of you still listening, I'm thumbing through Rebirth right now.
Before it comes out. So it opens up and you see a watch, and there's this narrator talking about how he got this watch from his uncle. And then...
Pause, time out real quick. If I've never really been into the DC Universe and I read this, will I be lost?
No, it spends like the first 10 pages giving you exposition.
So when I am sent home with this tonight to read...
No, I have to sell that. This is the most... With this issue, I've never ordered more books than this, and most of them have already been pulled.
Really?
Yeah, it's insane.
So you're hoping that by the time people come pick this up tomorrow...
By the time this episode comes out, I'll be sold out of that issue.
They'll have already... When is pull day? Tuesday or Wednesday? Or Wednesday. Today's Tuesday, so
yeah,
Wednesday?
Wednesday is new release day. I'll be sold out of this by the time this episode comes out.
Oh, really?
But it starts with this narrator, and this is also a little bit of Jeff Johns talking through the character, because I love this world, but there's something missing. And it ends up this character who's talking is Wally West. And I think I've said this before on the podcast. I grew up, Wally was my Flash. The Flash was the first DC book I ever read. I love Wally. When the New 52 came around, Wally was gone, completely removed from the universe. He eventually came back as a young boy, and people hated it. And some people get really defensive because he also came back as a young black boy versus a white guy. And it's not about Wally being a black guy. It's about that Wally was someone who had grown up. He had a really great arc. He was someone who grew into the Flash role, someone who was really kind of dated around a lot, a little bit impulsive. Sorry that I made that. I didn't mean that as a pun for people who have read The Flash. But he's someone who ended up getting married, having kids, and he had this really great arc. And the idea of bringing him back to a kid and removing all of that's not Wally at that point. It's completely removing the character. So this is, aside from Convergence, and I'm not going to get into that, this is really the first Wally story that there's been in 5 years since the New 52 started.
So this book revolves around the Flash, really?
Around Wally, yeah, for the most part. But so when Barry changes the timeline of the Flashpoint, one of the first things he does is he goes to Batman. And just like Barry, Wally goes to Batman. He's like, if anyone's going to know this, it's going to be Bruce. Bruce doesn't recognize him. He gets pulled back into the Speed Force. He's dying. He's trying to get through and from the old timeline and tell people that something's wrong. And Bruce is sitting at the Batcave, and it came out this week. Batman sat in, without getting too deep into continuity, a chair that has all knowledge, and he asks, what's the Joker's real name? This happened a while ago, and then you just see him say to himself, that's impossible. What he was told is he wasn't told a name. He was told that there were 3 different Jokers, And the way the art makes it look, it almost looks like that they're counting every time that DC is rebooted. There was kind of the original kind of Dick Spragg Joker, and then the Killing Joke Joker, and then kind of the Snyder, Greg Capullo Joker. So essentially, before Crisis on Infinite Earths, after that, and then in the New 52. So Wally comes to Bruce. He's like, someone took 10 years from us. Some of us have been forgotten, and this being is going to attack again. And Bruce doesn't recognize Wally. He goes back into the Speed Force. And then Wally starts running around this world trying to have someone recognize him. And it hints at all these things that are going to be coming in. It looks like DC is going to be bringing back the Justice Society, bringing back the superheroes, bringing back Blue Beetle. And something's going on with the Atom that we don't know yet because it leaves it a cliffhanger. But it also starts revealing new stuff we're going to be seeing, like that Wonder Woman has a twin brother who's probably evil. And Wally starts talking about one of the big things that's missing from the universe. Like I mentioned before, there's this whole no marriage clause in DC.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like characters are going to be, who were previously married, are going to be getting back together, like Green Arrow, Black Canary, Aquaman, and Mira. And Superman is also, the New 52 Superman is going to get killed this week, which is not a spoiler in any way, shape, or form. That's been really well advertised. And the pre-52 Superman is going to be taking over again. So the Superman we grew up with, kids, he's back.
He looks like the Brawny Man.
He does. He has a beard, and he wears a lot of flannel.
And he and Lois are in a hotel.
But even him and Lois are back. Like, Superman and Wonder Woman have been together for the last 5 years, so it's nice even getting that back.
If you're wondering where I am, well, he's been spewing on for the last 5 minutes. I'm thumbing through the episode, the book. Keep calling them episodes.
This is big stuff. So Wally goes and he finds his wife. And like I said, he's 10 years younger, so this would put him like in probably his early 20s.
Don't worry, Aquaman's in this.
Very briefly, but yes, he is.
Yeah, I'm looking at him right now.
But Wally goes to his wife. He's like, she will remember me. He calls her like his lightning rod, and she's kind of everything. When he's gone off into the Speed Force in the past, Linda's always been the one to bring him back, and she just looks at him like she doesn't remember him, and it's this heartbreaking moment. So Wally keeps running around, trying to go to everyone. He goes to Dick and Cyborg and a few other people, and no one remembers him. And then he sees the other Wally, the young, like, African-American Wally, and this is the weakest part of the issue. It turns out the other Wally is this Wally's cousin. They never met, and they were both named after their grandfather, Wallace West. But it makes it so they can both exist, and it's kind of lame. But then Wally has just kind of accepted that no one is going to remember him. And he goes to say goodbye to Barry. And I'll throw this out there. I got so glassy-eyed reading this. I'm so glad no one came into the store when I was doing it, because boy, was it a trip. Wally says goodbye to Barry and thanks him for an amazing life and that he's not sad that he's dying, that it was all worth it. But Wally says goodbye to Barry. And Barry doesn't remember him, and there's this moment where you see Barry kind of squinting, like he's not getting what's going on. He's like, I don't remember, like, what's happening? It clicks. Like, Wally, and he reaches out and he grabs him.
Well, I mean, there are tears in the comic book.
Yeah, but they embrace. He's like, of course I remember you. I'm so sorry that I forgot. And it's powerful, powerful stuff. So it's looking like at least Barry's memory is back, and I'm assuming that's what's going to happen with everyone else, is they're going to get some of their memories back, if not all of them. But Wally says something's happening. Someone's going to attack again. And Batman is digging in the Batcave. He's trying to figure out what this random figure who was Wally was trying to communicate to him. And he pulls out a smiley face pin with a drop of blood on it, which is huge. They're bringing Watchmen into the DC continuity.
I noticed that when I looked at the last page.
Yeah, and then you keep going, and it goes to Mars, where Dr. Manhattan went, and they start pulling some text right from the end of Watchmen with the conversation between Dr. Manhattan and Ozymandias about how things never end. And just like the beginning of the book, where we saw Wally's watch that Barry gave him, we see Dr. Manhattan putting together a watch because his father was a watchmaker, and you see it go to the doomsday clock. And we have 15 minutes to midnight. So Dr. Manhattan was the source of the New 52, was the source of all the changes, and he's coming back. And Alan Moore is going to be pissed, because Alan Moore hates everything. Wow. At least involved with comics. I'll be really curious to see what his reaction is, because he doesn't like when DC touches any of his stuff.
So this is an absolute must-buy if you're a DC fan.
Oh my god, it was beautiful.
And $2.99 in the store.
I'm just...
If you sell out, you'll be able to order more through the store.
Oh, yeah, this is going back for a second printing, no question. But, man, for all the complaints that there were about the new 52, they listened. And they're correcting all the stuff that people wanted back. Wally being a huge one, bringing back a lot of those relationships. The one that I'm hoping, and the art kind of makes it look that way, is that they'll have Tim Drake be a Robin again and not do that whole weird Reddit Robin thing. But the art certainly makes it look that way. Either way, this is damn good. Buy the hell out of it. DC, it's not a reboot, but it's going to be a good jumping on point, and the whole universe is changing with the return of Wally, as well it should. Just go buy the hell out of it. It's only $2.99.
Do you think that like the avid comic book fans that like loathe me on the show?
No one loathes you.
Okay. Do you think like the diehard comic book fans, knowing that I'm like new to the world and I'm trying to learn my way, the fact that I have Rebirth in my hands the day before it comes out and I've thumbed through it, is this going to cause like some consternation between me and them?
Well, I don't think they want your afterbirth.
Fair enough. But like, I don't know. Looks interesting.
Yeah, it's, oh man, glassy-eyed as hell.
Is this in your reading recommendations for the week?
Don't hit the comic.
I'm sorry.
You can hit that one. I don't know.
The hardcover?
Yeah, that one.
I'm not going to damage the hardcover.
No. If there's anything that comes out this week, Justice League 50 gets more into the origin of the Joker. You can read the death of Superman. Steve Rogers is back as Captain America. He has a new title going. It's a big week.
Huge week.
Come, give me your money.
That's probably not the best way to... Come get some good stuff and help support a local business is what he means to say. Let him be the conduit to your entertainment and adventure.
You want to cry manly tears if I got the book for you. If you know DC history at all, even if you don't, it spends the first 10 pages setting the stage for you. If you weren't reading the stuff before New 52, that's fine. This really, they spend some time getting you into the right mindset, set everything up.
Awesome. So it'll be there. Pull day is the day the show comes out, and if you have any left, come buy them.
I won't, but I'm happy to do another order of them. It's insane how well this book is going to sell.
Excellent. So if we want to come in and see the shop, you got some older vintage titles too. There's quite a bit of cool stuff at the shop. So if anyone's never been to the shop, where do we go?
210 Water Street on Hollowell, next to Lucky Garden, and sandwiched in between two tattoo parlors.
On Hollowell.
On Hollowell? Oh, what time is it?
10 of 11.
It is late.
Yeah, right there on Water Street. We can find you online, correct?
We already plugged.
I'm replugging because people may have that didn't turn off the podcast and we're back.
Review us on iTunes. Send us letters so we can try and do at least one a week.
Letters to the editor.
We'd appreciate it. We will see you next week for X-Men Apocalypse. Ciao.
Peace.